6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the most awesome homesteading channel on the entire planet that has like nothing whatsoever to do with homesteading. At least not anymore. Why? Why would you talk about corn and peas and green beans when you can talk about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, ghosts, spirits, demons, witches, all kinds of the odd stuff that many of you may or may not have seen in the backgrounds of these videos before. So that's what Get My Six means if you're new to the channel. Maybe if you're coming over from our Sick Twisted Humor page on Facebook, welcome. And I want to thank all of you here that support me there and now on the new Sick Twisted Humor Instagram account. Go there and check that out. But I'm trying to kind of give equal time to all the different platforms because I know some of you don't do all, but I appreciate all of you, whatever platform you support me on, okay? So the last couple of videos here that we've done on YouTube have been viewer-submitted creepy stories. Like Ethan down in South Carolina submitted a story about the South Carolina gray man. Rob recently submitted a story about the ghost of his grandmother. Waiting on his story that he thinks we won't be able to explain. Wink, wink, hint, hint. And it was just so fun coming out here into the woods and telling those stories. And and I mentioned it in a recent video over on Sick Twisted Humor that that's kind of what we do here, and invited folks to come over here and support this channel. And I just felt like sitting in the woods and reading a creepy story. I mean, you don't always have to have a reason, right? So, with no further ado, as my beautiful bride dearly, aka Giggly Girl, would say, I'm going to read you one from True Hauntings Volume 2. So this is going back a couple of years, I guess. We've published 4 of these. We're almost finished with Volume 5. We just need some more stories. So you can email your story if you have any experience associated with anything paranormal, cryptozoological, or if you know somebody that does and you want to share their story, email it to the channel. Give us your permission to use it in the video or to publish it in the book. The email address is crazylake@mail.com. Okay? Now, let's get to it. Volume 5 will come out whenever y'all send in enough stories to finish it up. We need about a dozen more stories, I think. So this is a story called Forest Horror, and it was submitted, I believe, anonymously because I'm not seeing a name. So, and again, folks, I know a lot of you out there are educated professionals, and it's not always wise to admit that you've had experiences with ghosts or Bigfoot, Sasquatches in your professional circles. So you can submit your creepy story anonymously, ask us to keep you anonymous, and we will, okay? Forest Horror. I live in Arkansas and love to spend time in the forest, which I did often as a younger man, about 15 to 20 years ago. Not too long a drive from our house, there is my favorite section of the woodlands where I and others had cut a small footpath, kept going by hikers and the occasional deer. I just loved soaking up all the scenery and peacefulness this trail had to offer. It was idyllic, like being transported to your own world, and you were never really alone. There were always plenty of birds and squirrels to keep you company. So, this one day, I was walking along my favorite trail, taking in everything and loving it all. All of a sudden, I saw a different path and was struck with the sudden notion to follow it. I didn't see the harm. I'd been here 1,000 times. I hadn't gone too terribly far when I realized something. The forest around me had gone quiet, like some sort of predator might be silently passing along under the trees, and the other animals sensed it. I paused for a moment and looked up. Nope, the sun was still shining brightly in the sky. Like a moron, I continued forward. Eventually, I came into a clearing I hadn't seen before. In the middle of the clearing stood an old, gnarly, knotted tree that looked like it would be more at home standing next to a haunted house. It seemed curious to me and warranted a closer look. Did I mention I was naive and unversed in the paranormal as well as young and dumb? Not even having horror film knowledge to fall back on, I went forward, not expecting much out of the ordinary. What caught my eye first was what I assumed to be a kill from some hunter hanging his kill in the old gnarled tree to drain. Already neatly skinned, too. At least that's what I thought it was from a distance. As I came closer, the sickening truth became clear. What I had found was a man, a neatly skinned man, draped over a limb like a hunter's catch, like a deer. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My mind wouldn't let me believe it. I quietly crept closer, wanting to be sure, so I checked. Yes, there were hands and feet, not hooves like I was hoping. I backed away from the gruesome sight, even away from the path. As I walked backwards, not looking, I was hit in the head twice, and I backed away, flailing, feeling hysterical and panicked. I looked up when I could stop flailing and muttering. What I saw, or at least what I thought I saw, was a scarecrow, and the two things that had lightly struck me in the head were its shoes. I looked at its drooping head as it hung there, as if it were a warning that had come too late. It was wearing a ball cap and had hair that looked too real. I took a step or two closer to check my suspicions as best as my rattled nerves would let me. I held my breath, but let it out quickly as I called out in fear. Yes, that was a man as well. Unfortunately, tragically, but it was. I was going around the tree to avoid any more mental trauma, but when I came to the other side, I found something worse, so much worse. Something so horrific, so gut-wrenching, it's taken me these long years to write or tell anyone what I saw. My stomach cringes at it even now as I write this to you. As I came to the other side of the tree, I noticed an oozy, oily wound on the side of the tree that started to expand as I watched it. It grew in size, becoming blacker and more ominous as it did so, continuing to expand until it started to open bit by bit. As it opened, two things hit me. First, the smell. OMG, that smell. The smell of old concentrated death. Rotten stench beyond what one can describe. And second, the screams. The screams upon screams, all blending into an awful chorus. Then it started coming out of the tree. This thing had to be at least 9 feet tall. It had what resembled deer-like antlers and yellow eyes, with pointy ears on the sides of its head under the antlers. As it stepped out of the opening, I saw large round hooves, similar to a moose's hooves. Its limbs and form were extremely thin and long. Also, its skin. It didn't have any skin. I could see this thing's reddish-brown muscles showing plainly, dull and dry as if it was made that way, never having any skin to begin with. I took all this in a matter of seconds, but it felt much longer. Its face took on a fearsome, menacing grin as its eyes scanned me. Its teeth were gruesome and mismatched, as it had every type of tooth in nature, all in one mouth and in an order that made no sense. Mangled doesn't cover it, and its breath would have made a carrion eater gag. Of course, I started to run as soon as I could convince my already stunned nervous system to move my wobbly, nearly useless legs, picking up speed as I went, adrenaline kicking in along the way. As I got a little bit away, the thing reached out for me and began to give chase. I could hear its thumping hooves beat behind me between screams. I ran faster and found the original path, and as I did, the sounds of it following me faded away until I could no longer hear it in the background. I didn't slow my pace any, though. As you could expect, when the Rangers got the anonymous call, nothing was there. Not even the path leading to it, all gone, all vanished into thin air. And good riddance. I still pray for those two unfortunate young men and their families. I pray that they find peace and that no one else ever has to see what I saw. I pray this thing is dead or crawls back into whatever pit of hell it came out of. May God have mercy on those poor souls and on me for coming too late to help them. Take care of yourself, Lake. There are worse things in the woods than Bigfoot Sasquatch. Trust me, I know. Wow. What an amazing story. Again, part of True Hauntings, Volume 2 of 4 and almost 5. If you've got any sort of creepy story, something you experienced or something that somebody you know experienced, you want to share their story, Send it to us. The email address is crazylake@mail.com. Give us your permission, of course, to share the stories in any way that we deem fit, and we'll do just that. Finish up Volume 5. These are available on Amazon, by the way, in print and or Kindle. So thanks for being here for another creepy story in the woods from the most awesomest homesteading channel on the entire planet that doesn't really have anything to do with homesteading. Oh, look at that ray of light. Isn't that beautiful? Homesteading Off the Grid. And welcome if you're coming over from either Sick Twisted Humor on Facebook or now Sick Twisted Humor on Instagram. Appreciate all of your support on any and all platforms. Stay safe out there. Stay hydrated this summer. Remember to stay indoors between 9 a.m. and November 1st. See you for more next time.